morning. Good morning. How's it going?
Good. How are you?
Good, man. Doing all right.
Funny, I was about to literally just play Mafia 3 while I was waiting.
How were you?
Yeah, I was playing it last night too.
Nice.
I love that game so much. You did such a great job.
Thank you, man. I appreciate that.
Yeah, I see you got your morning coffee.
Oh yeah.
Hmm.
It's pretty much it's not even morning. It's just like constantly throughout the day.
I feel that. We have a Ninja coffee maker and we haven't figured out how to use it yet.
What is that? What is a
It's
ninja?
like a ninja. I can grab it. I'm gonna grab it off the counter and just bring it to you. Oh, it is recording, but I'm not gonna cut this part. I'm just gonna say fuck it and keep it in here.
Why
I'll be
not?
right back. And it's kind of dirty, but this is it right here. So it's Ninja brand, but
Nice.
it's a coffee pot. I'm gonna go put it back up there.
Not a sponsor for those of you watching. This is a genuine endorsement of Ninja Coffee Brand.
Sorry, I missed what you said. What was that?
Not a sponsor. This is a genuine endorsement of Ninja Coffee.
Oh, really? That's good to know.
Yeah, yeah.
I love their products. We have a foodie griller also, and you could literally make anything in it. It's fucking awesome.
That's great.
Yeah, it's worth the price. I think they're only like $150 or something like that, though. They're pretty cheap.
Nice.
You want to get started?
Yeah, let's do it. Let's crack.
All right. Well, you're listening to the Dreaming Insomniacs, the podcast, season 3, episode 3. And we have Alex Hernandez trying again from last time because our recording didn't come out. Again, I'm sorry for that, but thank you for letting me make up for it. So I just have some questions and whatnot. One's from my girlfriend also.
Okay.
If I have an animal interrupt, I have 3 cats and a dog, so I do apologize in advance.
Nice. You got a zoo. I got a couple cats as well, so if one
Yeah.
of them might pop in the background.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I live in a zoo. So do you. All right. So just to bring up your credits, you were in Mafia 3, the lead character in Lincoln Clay. You were in the Apple TV show last year, Invasion, Bloodshot with Vin Diesel, and you did some additional voices in The Division amongst other credits. So my questions are going to mainly be around that, but if you want to bring anything else up, you're more than welcome to. So the first question is very simple. What made you want to start a career in acting and pursue it?
Um, so I had a really great high school teacher who unfortunately actually just passed away.
I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah, it sucked. It was weird. It was weird to hear that, like, because this woman affected my life like in a really tangible way. I was gonna be an academic. My father's an academic. He's a professor and a researcher and all that. And I went to high school. I went to one of the best high schools in the country, and I was on this academic track with all these tough AP, IB classes and stuff. And I was like, let me take something fun where I don't have to write essays, and maybe I can meet girls, and maybe I can like just goof off a little bit. And so I took drama, and I didn't try, and I didn't care, and I did fine. And she came to me one day and was like, "Hey, you have a lot of potential, and you don't really seem to give a shit. Like, I kind of wish you did, because like you could be really good at this." If you tried. And she was the first adult who like wasn't a negative reinforcement based system. She was the first. My coaches would make me run a mile if I missed an at bat, right? Like if I missed a pitch and didn't make it, you had to run. If I didn't get straight A's, my parents would punish me. This is the first adult who was just like, there's no negative here. There's just positive. If you try, you might get something. And if you don't try, that's okay. I'm still proud of you and I think you're cool. And I was
It's
like,
awesome that she was there for you to do that for you.
right, yeah, right. Like, especially in America, we live in such a productivity based system.
Yeah. Yeah,
Just
definitely.
a woman who's like, I'm not here to like make you feel bad. I just think if you did a little more, you could be really good at a thing. And like, she told me that as a 13-year-old. Here I am at 33, 20 years later, and like, not only is this my career, I've been nominated for a BAFTA. I work like in film, television, theater, voiceover consistently. Like I've done very well, and all it took was an adult just being like, "Hey, you could try."
Right. That 100%. I mean, look at the 90s. It was really hard to go from just TV to movies. It's more open now, too. So you came in at the right time.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's just cool to think about like I think a lot of young people, especially if you're really smart, like you have all these imaginings of what your life is going to be. You're like, I'm gonna be X, or this is what I want, and it's hard to have perspective at that age where you're like, I really have no idea what the future holds. As
Yeah,
like a
nobody
12-year-old,
does.
nobody does, right?
Yeah,
And as a 12-year-old, you're like, I know for a fact I'm gonna do X, Y, Z, and I'm gonna like love this kind of person and never do this thing and always do this thing. And then you get older and you just realize like, oh yeah, motorcycles, yeah, I'll try that. And now you're a motorcycle guy. And then 10 years after that, you have a kid and you're like, I will never touch a motorcycle again.
yeah,
Just like
right.
how life happens and you think you have any sort of control and you don't.
That's
Like,
funny that you say that because when I was 7, my dad got me a little like I think it was a Kawasaki 50, and I rode it into a tree, and then I never rode a dirt bike again.
mm,
So it kind of had that reverse effect where I did it when I was a little kid. Even
yeah,
though he has Harleys, he has like 2 of them. He used to
yeah.
have 3, but yeah, I haven't gone back. Even though I should, just to overcome the fear. I have been on an ATV though, so that's
Totally.
fun.
There you go. A couple extra wheels make you feel a little more secure.
No, yeah, 100%. It was funny that you brought that up because it was like the opposite for me in that department. All right. So my second question, this one comes from Chelsea, my girlfriend. Sorry, that was the first one. How hard was it for you to get into character in a green screen or blue screen environment? We were watching the behind the scenes videos of you making the faces to it, how they were doing the tests. And
Yeah.
how long did it take for you to record that, for them to record all of your parts for the game of Mafia 3
So
specifically?
we worked. They as a team worked on Mafia for I want to say I believe it's a total of like 7 years.
Oh, I thought
I
it was
worked on it.
5.
What's that?
I thought it was 5, 7 years.
It could be 5. I started in 2013. The main game released in late 2016, and we were still
October.
doing DLCs through 2017.
I remember all that. I
Yeah.
picked it up in 2017.
By the time that I came on in 2013, they had already been working on it for I think 2.5 years,
Okay.
like doing prototypes, gameplay stuff. So they didn't have obviously they didn't have a model of like what the character was going to look like, but they were programming the cars and programming missions and things like that. They were like testing stuff.
Mhm.
Um, and so it's an incredibly long process. So my part going from 2013, I won't even include the DLCs. So for about 2.5 years, I would go to California, like probably for a total of about 3 months out of every year. Like, if I added up all of the time, because video games don't work like normal jobs where it's like, oh, we're just going to shoot for 4 months straight and we're done. It's like we're going to shoot for 3 weeks this time, and then we'll have like a month where the programmers are taking the data from that shoot, doing things with it. Then you come back, then we'll work for another 3 weeks, and then they'll do it's a process like that over and over again, right? So in total, I think there are about 40 hours of cinematics, and we worked. I would say each hour takes like 10 hours of my time. So
Wow,
like a
that's a lot
total,
of work.
yeah, it is, and that's not including the programmers. They work even more.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, definitely.
Like they're looking at 10 seconds of cinematic for like 10 hours because they're
Right.
doing everything. They're
An
layering.
hour literally is a second of cinematic.
Yeah, the thing is
Never
like
even thought about it like that.
there's a guy whose job it is to animate hair and to like stipple on my face, like, if Lincoln's been asleep and in a coma after being shot at
Mhm.
Sammy's, he
He
wakes
has
up with a
the
beard.
5 o'clock shadow. Yeah, and the beard. Yeah, yeah.
Whose job it is to just stipple beard in a computer, and that'll take him 4 hours that day. To just one look is just like him putting every follicle of hair on my face.
That's crazy. That's
Uh,
awesome, though.
yeah, it was really wild because I was like, they're very secretive. Every video game company is super
Yeah,
secretive.
they have to be.
They have to be, right?
It's
Like,
also owned by Rockstar, the same company. Take-Two owns 2K and Rockstar, so they are always secretive about their projects, regardless.
yeah, because fans are voracious, and this should be, and they want information and all of that. But they're like,
Sure.
listen, ironclad NDAs, like you can't see anything.
No,
Very,
no.
you know what you need to know. And I was like, look, guys, I don't mean to be rude, but like I'm the lead of this game. I'd like to at least know this stuff, right? Like it feels disrespectful to be like, there's hundreds of people working on this, and I have no fucking clue what they do. Like that feels
They have
disrespectful.
a basis of who the character was before they had the look with you.
Basis, yes, in terms of like
Okay.
narrative, right? Like,
Okay.
they know that he's a soldier from Vietnam. They know that
Right.
he's half black and that he was in the Black Mafia and he
Mhm.
left for Vietnam because he was abandoned. He's an orphan who like feels like he doesn't have a real family and he's looking for that. But other than that, like in terms of, let's say like a voice, I don't mean like an actual voice. I mean like a character narrative voice. Um, that doesn't really exist. They'll know plot points, but they won't know like what does that feel like on this
Yeah.
guy because they don't know who the guy is yet, right?
Right.
Um, and yeah, it's a really cool process to sort of jump into a narrative story that people have obviously put a lot of time and work into, but also see how your presence directly affects.
You literally became the face of the game. Your face is on the cover.
Yeah, it's
That
fucking
must
awesome.
feel good every time you're at a store and you see a copy of Mafia 3.
It feels good and it feels weird.
Yeah.
It feels weird, not in a bad way, just in a like. I remember I went to London for the BAFTAs. We had the ceremony, and then I went to stay with a friend, just to be there. And I'm waiting for the bus to go into Trafalgar Square. And as I'm waiting for the bus pulls up, and it's my face on the side of the bus.
I could see how that would be really cool and really weird at the same time. It's like
It's just
uncomfortable.
bizarre because as a little kid, when I grew up playing games, you fantasize about that. You
Yeah.
fantasize like, I want to be Cloud in the next Final Fantasy.
You
And
got
then
even better than that, I think. I played this game more than I played Final Fantasy in my entire life. I'll tell you that. I'm on my sixth playthrough.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I love it. You did such a good job. Like, I actually think it's the best protagonist in any game, and I'm not even kissing your ass. Like, it's better
Oh,
than Arthur Morgan in Red Dead Redemption 2.
I appreciate that,
But
man.
it's also because you brought a weight to the character that's just unprecedented to anybody else. That's why I'm so curious about how you did it, because it feels so real. Also, another question I have was how hard was it to match the dialogue with the animation motion capture as well? How hard was it to match it when they had you in the studio trying to match it to what they had already for the character model?
So in terms of matching, when you're recording, like when you're doing the original shoot, there's no matching. They're matching to you, right?
Okay.
So you shoot it basically like you shoot a movie. So it'll be like, okay, we have this scene, and the two of you and I are talking right now, and they have the cameras digitally set up the way that you would set up a actual camera on a film shoot. But when it comes to ADR, which is a thing, like you'll
Yeah.
go in later, and whether it's because like there was a sound on your line, or they just want a different read, things like that, you go in and you try to voice match like according to the animation that's already there, right?
So like the example video, it's only like 2 minutes. You can find it on YouTube where they have a character model on the screen and it's like very basic. It's like alpha footage almost.
Yeah.
And then they have you in the room with it's either blue or green screen behind you trying to match to it. Could you see that character model while you were doing that?
No.
Oh goodness. So you
Um,
had no basis while you were in the character of seeing the
are you
character.
referring to the clip? I think it's like I'm bald, and like you're saying, it's like alpha
Yeah.
animation where it's not. So that character model is actually matching to me, not the other way around.
Oh
That's what.
wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the way that the tech works is you're wearing a camera, like this camera mount on your head that sits
Mhm.
right here, which is kind of annoying because you're like trying to look past the camera. Like there's a camera 6 inches in front of your face.
While maintaining character.
And doing things. Something like a hug is like incredibly awkward on set because you go to like hug another person, but you both have these cameras that are 6 inches in front of you. So you're both kind of like dancing like this because you're trying to get around hitting the cameras together. So for anyone watching who's like, hey, that moment was really awkward, like bear that in mind. Sometimes
Yeah,
it's not
I
that
never even thought about that.
right? It's not that we're stupid or bad. It's that like
No.
we literally have this thing that we're trying not to knock. It's like rams and their horns. We're trying not to knock them together. Um, but anyway, so like when you're shooting, you're not matching, but when you do ADR, you are, and that gets awkward because like obviously when you shoot, you're like in a flow and you're in an energy and you're just doing stuff. But when you have to match it afterwards, usually you don't like reshoot the whole scene. It'll be a 5 minute scene and they'll be like, we just need two lines in the middle. So you don't get any of the energy before and none of the energy afterwards. So you watch it and you're like, okay, let me try to replicate this moment where I was like super in it, and let's say like I just killed Georgie, right? And you
Right.
just want a line after I've just killed him, but I don't do any of that action beforehand, and there's the other actor's not in the room with me, and I'm
I
trying
don't
to
have
match
the
the
hands
lines.
on, so it's a lot harder to do.
So
It's
it's
trying
way
to
more.
do a call center without a script.
Yeah, that's exactly it. And it's just so technical. Whereas when you're on set, it's more organic and it's about like feeling a thing. But
Mm.
ADR is all about matching exactly. So it's like if I said the line just like this, I can't say the line just like this. I have to say the line just like this because my mouth is moving at a certain rate. So it's just like a weird.
Hmm.
It's fucking
It's
weird, but it's really
recording
fun.
music.
What's that?
It's like recording music.
Actually that's a very good corollary. It's
Yeah.
exactly like recording music.
Because like I go back and listen to our early stuff, and I made a lot of it with my phone. I mean, it's like, budget materials. I finally have a Blue Yeti, so that's good. But next is an interface, and I'm getting Ableton, so I'll have better materials, even more so. But a lot of the older stuff I could go back and listen to, and I mean, I harmonize with myself with multiple recordings, but not all of it's on. Like a lot of it's off, and it like sometimes it bothers me, and sometimes I like it, but the newer stuff is definitely more on point of like matching with itself. And I sort of pride myself on it at this point, because going back and hearing that, it makes me like cringe a lot,
Yeah.
unless I'm kind of drunk.
Yeah. And then it all just makes sense. Then it
Yeah.
matches anyway. Yeah, and that's something that I'm fascinated by, is this like this road that you're on now towards mastery, right? Like
Mhm.
you have to just start somewhere. So you start somewhere with an ignorance of this concept of like, oh, I have to match myself or try to. There are all these little nuances that I take for granted when I like hear a new album by my favorite band. These people have been working for years on how to do something as simple as have four musicians play together at the same time. And it seems
Right.
so simple. You just get in a room and you just play. You don't
Right.
think about monitors. You don't think about earpieces. You don't think about like how much more difficult it is to keep time when you know that you're being recorded and that there's a lag between your instrument
I
and the
have to
recorder.
forget that you're being recorded.
Yeah,
That's the trick.
yeah.
Yeah.
And that it's the same in acting. You have to
Yeah.
forget that there's a camera there, even if it's mounted right here in front of your face, and you have to just like be as present as possible. Which that's a skill. Like it takes time, just like an athlete. The first time you play in like an NBA Finals, you're nervous because you know that everyone's watching. But
Oh
the
yeah.
vets will be like, you have to tune that out.
I'll even be honest. I got nervous before this interview, but I tuned it out. I smoked a little bit of weed and I calmed down.
Yeah, that's good.
you know,
Yeah.
chill right now. Sorry about the AC, by the way. And if any planes fly over, I had to move. I don't live beachside anymore. I live by the airport.
Oh, nice.
Depends on the time of day.
Yeah.
But yeah, dude, that's like I never really thought about the similarities between acting and music, but they are pretty similar. I mean, they're entertainment, so it's about getting out there in front of people.
Yeah, and they're both performance mediums, right? So it's
Yeah.
like you as a musician will sit in your room by yourself practicing and cultivating a skill. Whatever your instrument is, you sit and plunk, whether it's like etudes and chords over and over again to learn how to actually play a guitar. That's only one part of the job of a musician. Then you have to learn how to like do that with other people in time, like in real
Yeah.
time.
I
And then
mean,
you as a group need to develop a rapport and then do that in front of other human beings. And these are
how
all
I got over it is I just wear sunglasses on stage and I look beyond the people, never directly at them. That's where I fuck it up. When I look
uh,
directly at them, that's no, 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 no. Never good.
interesting.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
how do you find like do you enjoy the exchange, the energetic exchange of like being a performer and having an audience? Do you sort of dread that and just
It's
pretend that they're
it's a
not
little bit
there?
of both. So
Yeah.
like I used to when I for the first 5 or so years I'd play out, I would just completely ditch as soon as I finished playing. I would leave.
Mm.
I'd go home
Yeah.
because I was like, all right, I'm good. But now I set up a camera and I have a tripod, so I have to, be there until the end. I like to respect the other musicians who play. If it's like a jam or a show with multiple people on the billing, I like to stay and wait at least one act before I go home, so then I'm not, a rude asshole.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, but
And
that's it.
so much of it, right, is like we're as artists, whatever your medium is, it doesn't matter. Like you understand intrinsically what it's like to put yourself out there, right? Like you're getting
Yeah.
in front of a bunch of people being like, "Hey, I care about a thing. I worked on it really hard. I hope you appreciate it. Maybe you do, maybe you don't."
Yeah, I
And
mean,
then
I've
show up
received death threats for my music, but I've also had people tell me that they haven't killed themselves because of it. So it's like
yeah,
it's like a balancing act.
totally.
But what I will say, you're speaking of performance. You remember the falafel dragon thing we talked about
Yeah,
last time?
yeah, yeah.
I had to cancel it.
Did you?
And the whole Russia thing.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I had to cancel it. It has not aged well within 6 months of it releasing. But
I
what
think
I
that's
did was the new album that's coming out on Halloween. The music's very similar to Falafel Dragon, except I'm not doing a stupid accent. So it's kind of got this like 80s vibe, and I really think you'd like it.
oh
It's
yeah.
the 10th album. We're calling it X. It's kind of the album cover is totally trolling. It's really funny because the music's like the opposite of what the album cover portrays.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's sick. Hell yeah, man.
Yeah.
I think it's smart of you to like recognize. Look, as an artist, as a human, really, but particularly as an artist, you have a responsibility to be like, what's happening in the world and how am I interacting with it? And like, there's one thing to make a goof, you know, to like have some fun and do a thing. And when you recognize like, oh, there's shit happening in the real world
Yeah.
that is larger than me getting a laugh or than like having this moment to myself.
And I can't really be subtle about it anymore. It's like everyone else is talking about things, and it's like, I mean, there is suppression, but there's also there's platforms as well. It's like you just got to find the right avenue nowadays.
Yeah.
What's the next one? Okay, what was what was your favorite aspect of Lincoln Clay's character? I know we're getting back to the topic of the game, but
Of course. I think you brought it up earlier, the gravitas, like the weight of this person. Um, it definitely. I'm
literally and figuratively.
Yeah, I was pretty happy to be 6'3" because in real life I'm 5'9". So I was like, yo, stretch me out as much
Wait,
as you.
Lincoln's only an inch taller than me.
Yeah, are you 6'2"? Yeah,
Unfortunately, I walk into door frames. Back to what you were saying. I do apologize.
no, it's all good. Um, yeah, I tend to go. I'm pretty extreme as a person, so I'm either like a complete fucking goofball or I'm very serious. There's not
Yeah,
a
I feel you.
not a lot in between.
No, never.
So, yeah. And like leaning into Lincoln being a guy who is an orphan, a guy who is a member of an organized crime syndicate by choice, a
It is
person who then
choice.
goes to Vietnam and then comes
Right.
back, then watches his whole adopted family get murdered. You know,
That's a hard. I have to skip that scene every time I play it.
it's really
It's
to me.
hard to watch.
There's a few emotional moments that I like. I love watching in the bad way, you know, like in the way where you're like, God, it's so hard. And one of them is like watching in the scene of Sammy's bar getting burned down and the Marcano is like completely fucking everything up. Watching from the POV of like being on the ground and seeing Sammy like
Oh yeah,
backing
that
up
part's
and, like,
great. Yeah,
and just fucking getting murked.
they did it so
Um,
well.
yeah,
That's
it's
why
just
I have to skip it because of how well done it is.
yeah,
I've seen it multiple times. It's just hard for me to watch.
totally. And the other one that gets me is Georgie's death.
Oh,
Uh,
that yeah, I know because they were like friends, but they weren't. And it's like,
yeah,
oh,
and
it's
like
so hard.
watching this long con. I love scenes and moments where characters there's been a secret and there's been something that has been held from someone else, and when they explain it, there's a empathetic logic to it. Doesn't mean it's right, but like when Georgie's like, it's about my father, man. It was always about my father. It was never like it was never about you. It's not
It was
about us.
definitely Sal. Yeah,
Like it's I understand it. I don't agree with it, but I
no,
understand it. Where
right,
it's like it's
right.
just a son like desperate for his father's love.
And then
And
to
then
lead into that confrontation with Sal Marcano,
yeah,
that was amazing too. Because
yeah,
either way, if you kill him, if you don't, he'll kill himself.
totally.
Yeah.
And just seeing, I love dynamics where you're like watching humans like be actual humans. It's so often
Oh
in the
yeah.
action game where everyone's just like, even Lincoln. There's a when I first got involved with the project, my biggest fear was that I would do it and everyone would be like, "Oh, what an action hero!" Just like straight up, like, is a big guy who like talks with the voice and the thing. And
No,
I was
that's
like,
not what I got from it.
that was my hope was because I was like, I don't want to make an action game where everyone walks away being like, "Oh, it's Arnold Schwarzenegger
No.
in a different form," right?
It's like the Shrek reference with an onion. It's very layered. It's a very layered character.
Yeah, I did my best, and I think the response, both critically and from a fan perspective, has been that like, and that to me warms my heart because it's like I came in as a fan of this, and I basically tried to do what I wanted to see. I didn't
Yeah.
see enough of it, and I was like, no, I want to see people who feel like people, like action hero. Yeah, this guy will fuck you up. He'll take a shotgun and he'll smash you across the head, and like he'll do that, but he also is a human being with wants and needs and feelings, and that should come. It should hurt to like watch him murder the big bad. It should not be like fucking. It should be like, damn, this sucks, and there's also a catharsis in being like, nah, fuck you, we're fucking throwing you out the window. Like,
Right.
um, yeah,
I mean, I feel good when I'm playing it, but that's just because I can't kill racist people in real life and I live in Florida. So, you know.
it's funny. My God, Florida. I
I
forgot
know.
Florida.
Didn't you say you're from here?
Yeah, Jacksonville.
Oh, goodness. Goodness gracious.
Yeah.
I plan to leave at some point, but my dad's 73, so I'm going to wait until he croaks.
Yeah,
Not to be so crass about it. I love him very much. He's great, but
that's
rather
very
not
real
be.
though. Like,
Yeah, he's nearby. So,
yeah,
but yeah, no, I mean, like, I get both from the character. I get both, like a softer side and a harder side. The fact that even just through a character model that you were able to portray that is really cool. Um,
yeah, I appreciate that. And the tech has come really far.
it
Back in
has.
the day, talk about like Final Fantasy VII and these like polygonal, there's no facial
Yeah,
capture or any of that stuff.
literal
It's just
triangles and rectangles.
yeah, and like people are doing their best, particularly as voice actors in that day and age. You're like really trying to. I know that Final Fantasy VII in the original does not have voices, but like as you do your best to get all that in a voice, it's difficult. We communicate a lot with our body language.
Right.
So, like when you watch someone's facial expressions, now the tech can actually keep up with
Yeah,
like what
motion
it is to
capture.
be being.
It's great.
Yeah, it's cool.
I know a lot of people shit on the game for its imperfections, and that's understandable, but it's still a great video game. But nobody has ever complained about your part in it ever. I've never heard one person say anything bad about what you've done in it. And
I,
those, I was just telling Chelsea the other day, the facial animations and the cutscenes are the only game that I believe that lives up to LA Noir's quality. No other game has done it like that, if not better.
yeah, I appreciate that. I mean, it is that was hard, right? Like you put a lot of work in something, and gameplay is not that's not in my purview. Like I cannot control how missions are designed or bugs or any of that sort
I
of
don't
stuff.
think the people deserve to be laid off and lose their jobs over it. That was some bullshit.
Yeah, I mean, it's such a large beast, and you also, when you play through and you experience those bugs and you experience some redundancy and like again as a
They fixed
fan
some
of
of the
the game,
bugs with the definitive edition. Sorry to interrupt.
yeah, they did. Um, but like as a fan of games as well, like when you play through something and you're like, yeah, I see the complaint, like I see what it is, and at the same time, it's almost like having a shitty friend or shitty family member where like someone else is like, dude, that guy, your uncle's kind of an asshole. And you're like, yeah, he's also a sweetheart though. Like you're just seeing him right now. You're not seeing the other part of it. And you have an attachment to like want to defend it. But at the
Yeah.
same time, I do believe that as not just as an artist, but as people, you have to be self-aware. You have to be able to be like, yeah, that's a valid complaint. I
But also,
understand.
nothing's ever going to be perfect. You said they spent
Of course.
7 years on the video game. There's a point where you just got to, wrap it up and release it to the public.
Yeah.
And
And I'm sure
not to
that there
mention
is,
investor calls and take two.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And I'm sure that there were
They have
things
more
that like,
time.
they, if they could have done differently, they would have. Or
I
um,
think.
it's not to make excuses. It's just like
Yeah.
what I understood. Video games are an interesting medium because you're interacting with a story, at least in a narrative game. Because some games aren't narrative at all, right? Like most first-person shooters are not narratives.
No.
You play Fortnite, you're not trying to play through a story. You want
I
to
mean,
like
even Call of Duty tries to have a narrative, but they've been nixing that anyway.
totally, and that's not the appeal, right? The
No.
appeal is not to play through story mode,
Multiplayer.
play online, right?
Mhm.
But in a narrative game like Mafia, where it is a solo endeavor and you're at home and you're like playing through a story, half of the effort is on the story, telling a story.
Oh, yeah.
The other half of the effort is on the experience that the person has interacting with it. And it's a weird medium because when people interact with something, they're more attached to it than if you sit back passively and like watch a movie. Of course, people have movies that they love and they affect them in this way. But I've seen that like the psychology of a player is different than the psychology of a watcher.
Oh, yeah. They're almost like interactive books. That's how I look at video games.
Totally.
They're
And
more like interactive books.
particularly the ones where like there are tree branches. Like Mafia definitely has this, but to a lesser degree than let's say like Telltale. Like I did one of the
The Walking Dead, yeah.
and like in a game like that, even more so than Mafia, the decision trees vastly out affect the outcome of like what story you're even getting. You helped one character 2 episodes ago, and now this person's dead. And if you don't help that character, they're still alive, which completely changes the narrative.
That's one jab I'll give at LA Noir because they made LA Noir seem like it was like that, but it really doesn't matter what you do.
I've not played it. I have read a lot about it and seen like the comps, but I have not actually played it.
It's fun. It's very fun. And the bloopers are really funny because it's all real. So there's tongues going out and everything else.
Oh, that's awesome.
But yeah, like the Walking Dead game, yeah, 100%. Your choices do matter, and the fact that it does that is really cool. I do want to let you know the recording might come out cut out in 10 minutes, but if you want to do more, we could like restart
Sure,
it.
sure.
It's just because I don't have the pro version, so I wanted to let you know.
It's all good. I
And
appreciate the heads up.
yeah, it's better to give you the heads up than to have it cut. But yeah, that's awesome that you did that. I remember playing that game back when it came out. It was really fun.
Yeah.
Really cool game. And another question I have, what was it like working with Vin Diesel in the movie Bloodshot? I know we talked about that before, but that was an important one.
Yeah, he's an interesting cat. Like he's a little aloof, which also makes sense. Like he's one of the most famous people in the world, and like it's bizarre to see how all of that affects a human being. I would say that from a just a strict fame standpoint, you know what I mean, just like name recognition and all that. He's the biggest person that I've certainly worked with, like hands on. Um, I did a project with Pierce Brosnan, but we didn't have scenes together, so I just like run into him on set. Guy Pearce was also in that Vin Diesel movie, but I think Vin Diesel as like an action star has a little more clout.
Oh yeah,
Um,
definitely. Fast and the Furious.
yeah, and
And Riddick.
and really, yeah. Funnily enough, when he first saw me in my getup for Bloodshot, my character's blind. My character is a soldier and kind of like super soldiered out. So there's all this, cool armor and shit. And he just looked at me and was like, "Oh, you got a kind of Riddick thing going on, don't you?" And I was like, "No, sir, I have my own original character." You know what I mean?
That's funny. That's really funny.
But I gotta say, he was always kind to me. Like he recognized in me, like, listen, you're a young brown dude coming up in this game, and like you seem respectful. And when we're on set together, like you're always prepared, and you have, you're ready to do your shit. Um, and there was just a mutual an understanding from him of like, you're gonna make it. You're gonna be fine. Like you're doing your thing, and I have nothing but respect and care for you. It's just interesting to see how a person at that level, like how you choose to move through the world, or how you have to move through the world. He's even describing like, you can't go into an airport. Like you can't go to a normal airport because you spend from the moment you step in front of all these humans to the moment you get on the plane, it's just people hounding you and invading your space.
Yeah.
Um, and it was interesting because when I first met him, I was opposite Sam Heughan, who's the guy from Outlander, and we were both playing like the baddies in the thing, and Vin is obviously the hero. And Sam and I were rehearsing for a big fight scene with Vin, and we'd been rehearsing for a couple days, and Vin was entering to shoot something completely different. And he comes in with his entourage. He's got his bodyguard, he's got his assistants, he's got his stunt double, his photo double, and they're all going to set. And he came over and he introduced himself to Sam and I because we hadn't met him yet. And it was a little like I said, a little aloof. Like I'm gonna introduce myself because it's professional courtesy. Like we're gonna have to work together and we're gonna pretend to fight each other. So I'm gonna say hello, but I have to go do something else. So he goes and does his thing, and I was like, all right, whatever. Maybe like an hour later, his assistant comes over and is like, "Hey, Vin would like to invite you guys to his camp." And we're like, "All right."
There you go.
We walk over to his trailer, and it's just him and his bodyguard is chilling in the background, and the three of us just sit at a table and have like a very real conversation where basically, Vin is Vin. Sam is also quite a famous person. He's like this sort of contemporary sex symbol. Like he's on this show where all the women think he's hot shit and beautiful and all this stuff. And then there's me. So it's like the guy who's an A-list celebrity, the guy who's like a B-plus celebrity, and then this guy who's just starting out. But we're all in the same place. We're all working on the same project, and we're just sitting at a table talking like men, like
the trifecta.
Yeah, kind of like the different levels of the industry
all together in one.
Sam and Vin are talking about fame and like how it's affected their lives. And Vin actually, weirdly, he like turned to me and was like, "Hey, I know that you did that video game, that Mafia 3 video game. Like, do you have any experience with this sort of stuff?" And I was like, "Definitely not the level that you're talking about where I like just walk on the street and people recognize me. People hit me up on Instagram and tell me whatever." And it was just interesting because in that moment, like his shields kind of went down where he was like, "I remember those days of like being being at that level, and like here's how it has a. He was just very honest and vulnerable. It was probably one of the few times that I saw him vulnerable, where he was like, "This is how it has affected my life in a day-to-day tangible way," and I miss that. I miss being able to be a human.
Yeah.
Because I don't get a lot of opportunities to do that anymore. Like everyone wants something from me.
It's like Michael Jackson level fame. You can't do anything.
Yeah. And you can see how it's affected his psyche. Because if you're constantly doing a juggling act of like, who actually gives a shit about who I am as a person, and who just wants a script to be read, a plug to a producer, a part in a movie, money.
And it must be hard to separate at that point. I mean, at that point, he must always be acting.
Absolutely, yeah. And that was one of the 2 times that I saw him not acting. He was just genuinely like a man sitting at a table with 2 other people being like, yeah, this is my life. And like,
at least he accepts it and admits it, though. That's really ballsy right there. It takes a lot of a man to do that.
And to say it to a relative stranger, you know what I mean? We're coworkers.
Yeah.
Like, you don't fucking know me.
No.
I could get that information and run to a tabloid and start jawing off about how like, oh, Vin Diesel's either super whiny about his fame or like, what a punk, he can't hack it. And it was just like,
instead you came on my podcast and spoke highly of him about how you respect him for it.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Have you ever told that story publicly before?
No, I mean, it's also like, it's interesting the questions that people ask you in interviews, right? And like,
yeah,
what information they are and are not interested in.
Well, I was definitely interested in that answer. That was I'm like, really, I feel special knowing that. I could see it as you were describing it too.
Yeah.
I can envision the whole meeting. That's so cool. That is so amazing. Thank you. That just made my day.
Yeah, man.
You doing this made my day. I do appreciate it very much.
Oh, of course, man.
So I got a couple more. You did a couple of additional voices for The Division, and I played the beta back in the day. And what was that like for you?
It was kind of weird. If I remember correctly, The Division was my very first video game. That was the first thing. It was The Division, and then it was Mafia. So it was like a huge jump in terms. Because The Division was like I was just playing soldiers and like random pilots and stuff like that.
That's awesome.
Also, ironically, the woman Kate Saxon, who directed the cinematics for Mafia, was a director on The Division.
Oh, so that's probably helped you get the gig, right?
Actually, no. Originally, the cinematic director for Mafia was a guy named Rocco, and I have no idea what happened, but something fractured between his relationship with 2K, and Kate replaced him. So Kate and I happened to know each other, like from this one day, just like casually. She's chilling in the booth, or chilling in the production studio, and I'm chilling in the booth, and I'm just like saying random shit like "get ready to fire" or "missiles loaded," like whatever. Just the so arbitrary, but it was cool because it was my first introduction. I'd done a lot of commercials to that point, like voiceovers for commercials, but I'd never done animation or video games, and so it was the first time. I was like a little kid. I was probably 24, I think.
A year younger than me.
Yeah. And I was just like, yeah, it's the first time that I get to, like be in a game like I always wanted to be as a kid. It doesn't matter if it's random voices. And then the next thing that came was like, all right, you're the guy in the box.
Yeah, right. Pretty much. I pull up the game and your face is right there.
It's bizarre.
Literally. Yeah. Your face is on my screen also right now on my TV.
Mm-hmm.
Like just in the background because I was playing the game. Welcome back.
Welcome back. One of my cats is losing their mind in the background. So
I've been dealing with it too. It's okay. And meanwhile, in the time that I was waiting for that download, I just was playing Mafia 3A, and it's kind of trippy because I just saw you stab somebody in the face.
Nice. I also just stabbed someone in the face.
Yeah, I feel that. No. Yeah. This morning, I had to chase my cat off the toilet because I was trying to sleep a little extra, and it was like 6 o'clock in the morning. And one of them decides to like hang out on the top part of the toilet, the part that's loose, and it's making this noise. And I'm just like, shut the fuck up. And then I tried, and eventually I had to get up and chase it out of the bathroom, and I slammed the bathroom door. So I understand. Sometimes you just got to yell at them and they listen. So that's good. Dogs don't, cats do.
That's ironic. I feel the opposite.
Oh, really?
Whatever they want. Sorry, I've got one in my lap as well. That's why you see me looking.
Oh, nice. I might go cat nap one in a second.
Yeah, right.
Two of them are sitting in the kitchen. I think they want food. Gotta go get them some food.
So what else we got?
All right. So the next question. Since the last time we spoke, have you managed to revisit Mafia 3? Is it still too hard for you to see your face doing those things?
I have not actually. Not even out of hardness. I've been busy. I'm working on actually another video game project. I can't.
So that is real.
That is.
That's a legit announcement.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
I cannot give any more details, so it's not worth inquiring. But there will be another something large, which is cool. I've also I was shooting for an Amazon show called The Peripheral. I did that for like 5 months last year.
That's
And
when we did our last interview.
yeah, and now it should be coming out in October, October of this year, which is pretty sweet. So
We'll watch that. We have Prime, so
yeah, and I think fingers crossed, but I think this show is actually going to be pretty good, like pretty cool. I've seen little bits here and there. We have to do ADR for that as well. That's pretty common television practice. So I've only seen little snippets of scenes that I'm in, but it looks cool.
I'm excited.
Like I'll watch.
I'm really excited. I'm glad you're getting more projects.
Yeah, man. It's
You deserve
nice
it. You're a really good actor too.
I appreciate that, man.
You're real and you're a good actor. How often is that a thing? Seriously.
You know, it's thankfully I've been finding more and more that it happens. It's just not the people that we know, right? It's not the people that are like sold to us.
Yes, exactly. Sold
And
to
some of
us.
those people are also good. You know,
Yeah.
some of them are can be real. It's just like I was saying with Vin, I think they actually do live in a different strata. Like it doesn't matter whether they merit it or not, or whether we want a society built that way or not. But these are people who like their concerns are just different than your concerns because they're living in a different aspect.
World. Yeah.
Literally.
I was watching one of Jamie Kennedy's videos recently, and he's a pretty down to earth guy, but they've kind of pushed him to the side. They used to put him in the forefront. But he was talking about how Brad Pitt will go to just a random cafe in LA and just have a coffee and get on his motorcycle and go home. Not say anything to anyone, just do his own thing, and that's it. And people leave him be.
Funnily enough, I saw one of my favorite actors, Michael Shannon.
I love Michael Shannon.
He's great. He's fucking great.
Great General Zod, too, believe it or not.
I will find him! I will find him! I love that scene. The funniest thing about that, I read somewhere, I don't know if it's true, I hope it's true. You know, as an actor, you'll do things in a series just so that they can edit. Like, the line is just, I will find him, right? So you're just supposed to say it once. But as an actor, you're like, I want to give you levels and variety, and like, you can choose one, right? I give you options. So apparently, Michael Shannon was like, I'm just going to do a series, and I'll just get bigger and bigger and bigger, and then you pick how big you want the reaction to be. You edit it and use that one. But they just kept the whole sequence, which is why it starts off
that's
with,
funny.
I will find him. I will find him. I will find him! Because he thought they were just going to use one, and instead they gave him this insane fucking moment. I love it. But I just saw him randomly in Union Square, like in exercise clothes, sweating, and just like walking like an animal. He looked like a homeless person, but I thought he was so intense, and I was like, oh, Shannon, you are incredible. It's like 3 p.m. on a Tuesday.
And he just doesn't give a shit. It's like,
Yeah.
I'm Michael Shannon. Fuck all of you. I don't care.
The funniest was like it wasn't even that. He's embodying it the way that most New Yorkers, there's just an energy.
Oh, yeah, I know what you mean.
You know what I mean? People are
I'm
just
from
like,
Boston,
I'm
so.
just trying to make a fucking train right now. Like,
The
I'm just-
Northerners are up. Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, I'm just like trying to get from point A to point B without someone asking me for money. Like, and he just had that vibe, but it was Michael fucking Shannon. So
It's funny that I understand your perspective on that because I live in Florida. So being from Florida, you're used to everything being so laxed and because of the heat. So people want to do things a little more slowly, right? Up there, because again, I'm from Massachusetts. So everyone's always got to get something done right fucking now or else it's the end of the world. So it's like, yeah, so it's a completely different atmosphere up there. It's really funny you say that. So he was really embracing the full New Yorker thing with him. That's awesome. I love that. I love that so much. So I'm trying to think. I know I had more questions, but I'm a little stoned, so I do apologize for that. I have one right here, but oh wait, I asked them all, didn't I? I did. Okay, that's fair. Okay, that's what I was thinking of. So at the end of the game, right after you kill Sal Marcano, was it Leo that comes and sees Lincoln, the older mob boss, And the guy that's standing with him, it looks a lot like Joe Barbaro, Vito's friend from Mafia 2. Is that him? Do you know anything about that? Did they ever tell you?
I can neither confirm nor deny.
Okay. All right. That's fair. Okay. It's one of those.
It is one of those.
Because he doesn't say any lines, but the character model looks 100% like him.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think it's a stretch to say this much, like even as a fan. It's intentional. Regardless of
Oh,
if
okay.
the answer is yes or no, right? Like they knew what they were doing. They're playing on the that's one of the things I like about 2K and I liked about the folks at Hangar 13. They knew the lore, they knew the history, and like as fans of the game, whether or not the answer to that is revealed and is yes or no, it's an intentional choice to be like, we want you to ask this question. We want you to
Okay.
think about this. Because
Because anybody who played Mafia 2 was left sad at the end of that game. Because in real life, Joe would be dead.
mm-hmm.
So, I mean, but the fact that they can do that and make that intentional, but not have to say anything, not even have the character say anything, people knew.
That's the.
I think that's cool.
I love that. I love nuance and story.
Beautiful.
Like that shit's beautiful because then you as an audience member are like, oh, there's this mystery that I really want to know the answer to. All right, is the next game gonna solve that? Oh no, it's a prequel. Fuck, what happened to Joe? And like,
Yeah, right.
Mafia 5 comes out or whatever. Like people will ask that question.
I really do hope, and I hope they hear this too, that they do the original idea for Mafia 4 at some point with the Vegas thing.
It would be sick.
The 70s Vegas, and make the follow up to Mafia 3.
You know, it's funny. I started thinking about all the different versions that it could be,
Mm-hmm.
and the fantasy version that I have is a Yakuza
Oh, that'd be cool.
Mafia.
That
So
would be cool.
hitting
Yeah, because Mafia 3 was anti-mafia. You're literally taking out the mafia.
totally.
Yeah,
And
I love it.
I just started thinking like, what are the interactions? Obviously, there's crime syndicates all around the world. You could also maybe not in this exact moment, but you do like a Russian syndicate at some
Oh
point.
yeah.
You do like
That during the Cold War. But
totally.
don't rip off Call of Duty. But I mean, that wouldn't be that hard because their stories really suck since Modern Warfare 2. Sorry, Activision. Not sorry, you suck.
Like I said, not their focus, man. They just
no, it's the multiplayer and it's the money at this point.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I love the fact that the DLCs for Mafia 3 really add to the mechanics of the game. You get a lot more. So like you get the whole weed farming aspect and that you get to put bodies in trunks. So if you want to like do like a serial killer simulator, if you're fucked up like I am when you're in a bad mood and just want to kill everyone in the game, you could dump their bodies in the gator pits and use a car to do it.
Why it exists, man. Everyone
yeah.
Narcissist. You need a place to like put those feelings.
That's what I'm saying. Like people like Jack Thompson, the disbarred lawyer, was trying to say Rockstar Games cause violence. You know, they tried to say they found a copy of Manhunt in a killer's room, but they found it in the victim's room.
Like, it doesn't matter anyway. At the end of the day,
no.
Like, this shit exists in the human psyche.
Yeah,
you're not gonna like stamp out violent thoughts or
no
anger. And
but you know what's gonna help them? Video games.
Like,
yeah,
I don't know. I'm a big proponent of that. I think it's just because like I can be a dark person, so like
so can I. We're human.
We're human, yeah. That's part of it, and I think some people have that socialized out of them. But I think it's pretty natural, actually, to like not act on them, but to have them. To just, someone does something shitty, they cut you off in traffic, and you're like, God, I could just fucking run my car into you right now. I could just like, just you made me so mad, I could just smash my car into your car.
And you can't do that, but you can put on Grand Theft Auto or Mafia 3 and do it to anybody. I mean, exactly right. Mafia 3 is a power fantasy for me. Think about it. I'm a white man that lives in 2022. But I get to play a game that's set in the 60s, and I get to play as someone who's not white, who goes through terrible things, and I get to, partake in that revenge. And you do the character so well that I get to embody it while I'm doing it, and it makes me feel better about the world, which is kind of fucked up, but it works.
I mean, look, different strokes for different folks. Some people never allow themselves to feel that depth of anger or frustration, and that's their choice, but.
I use music to help me with it too. It's like I'm not a violent person, but I have thoughts like anybody else. So productive outlets is always something for me to utilize. That's how I looked at it. My dad, he let me play bad games when I was a kid, like 10. He let me play rated M games, but he always broke it down like this. This is fiction. You don't do this in real life. And that's how I was brought up. A lot of people do get that, but some people are just mentally ill and can't help themselves. And that's where the unfortunate circumstances come. And I think video games get blamed far too much for that. And I think it's
Yeah,
unfair.
absolutely. And I think also we as a society tend not to talk about those thoughts or feelings, right?
No,
It doesn't even have to go to violence. Like I would apply that to any feeling that is not pride, joy, ambition, things that are positive, right? That society accepts as positive. We're not supposed to talk about it. You're not supposed to talk about when you like feel vulnerable or frustrated or hurt or
not
disappointed. You're not
supposed
supposed
to.
to say that, right?
Not
And so then
supposed to.
we don't know
Yeah.
where to put it. So like some 10-year-old who is growing up in a single parent household, feels alone, not listened to, doesn't have a safety net, and they grow up to be 15 and frustrated in school because like nobody likes them and they don't have girlfriends and they don't have a hobby that they really enjoy in the
Literally me.
place.
That's what I
Right?
went through.
Yeah. I mean, it's not a universal experience, but it's a very common experience, right?
Mhm.
And so all of this bottlenecked, that's how I felt, and all of this bottlenecked like emotion, people are telling you like, I don't want to hear that you're mad that your mommy left. Sorry. Like, I don't have time for that. I don't have space for you to like say that, look me in the eye and say that to me. So like, get the fuck out of here. And if you don't give voice to that kind of shit, it metastasizes. It
Oh, it
turns
gets
into,
worse. Yeah.
it
No,
turns into
totally.
someone showing up to a school with a fucking AR-15 and blowing a bunch of people away.
Yeah.
And it's not to say if only, because there's definitely, like you're saying, mental illness involved.
Yeah, no, and the mental health industry is awful. I mean, they put me on medications and diagnosed me with things I don't have for about 15 years. So they punish people instead of helping them. It's not
And
okay.
because now you will pay them. You'll continue to pay them as long as you have a diagnosis that requires medication.
Yeah, I had Mass Health, which is the best insurance in the country. They cover everything. So they were milking my insurance is what they were doing.
Yeah, that's
And
exactly.
damaging myself in the process. I quit all pharmaceuticals when I was 19 in 2016 and I have never gone back.
Good for
And I
you.
haven't been happier since. It's like my brain was a sponge again. And
Yeah.
they only put me on it. And it's funny you say this. They put me on Risperidol at 7 because my parents divorced. My mom lied about my dad being an abuser when she wasn't. And Massachusetts always takes a side. And she takes me halfway across the state. And I was acting out because she took me away from my dad, wouldn't let me speak to him, said he was all these things, made me lie in court when I was like 6, saying my sister hit me when she didn't, all these terrible things, right? She sent me to this horrible place and it's closed down for unjust practice, but they were cutting down trees outside. I said, God doesn't like that. And I played Grand Theft Auto when I was 5 because my brother let me. And I didn't know that you couldn't say to a doctor jokingly that I wanted to jump out of a window, even though I didn't even know what that meant. But they put me on Risperidol, which is illegal. That's an antipsychotic for 15-year-olds. And some bad things happened there. I'm not going to get into it. I've talked about it before. So, but yeah, it was a front. So I saw firsthand that the pharmaceutical industry needs to change and the mental health industry needs to change. And they actually need to shift gears and help people rather than damage them because they're causing a lot of these things too. Medication is what made me into, well, I would say a sociopath. It turned me into a sociopath. I had no emotions. When I quit the medications, I found myself again. So I think a lot of it needs to change also so we can help society grow.
I agree 100%.
I'm glad we got on this topic. It's good. It's needed. It's needed right now.
Yeah. And just to be, I think being honest about one's lived experience, like to bring it back to the game, when people give me compliments about the something being layered, right? Like that Lincoln Clay being a layered character.
Mhm.
It's conversations like the one we just had about your lived experience that I hope to bring to a fictional character. You
And
want
you
a
did
fictional
it.
character to feel that layered,
And
right?
you did it 100%. It's authentic. It feels like a real person every time I play the game. I relate to Lincoln,
I
even though
appreciate
I'm
it.
nothing like him.
And I think that's the power that we have in whether it's music or um, video games, films, whatever. Like when you tell a story or when you express, when you share a piece of creativity with someone else, to see a seed of vulnerability, which is like, I'm sharing something with you, right? Um, Kind of like when you said earlier about that conversation about Vin, how you're like, oh, it made my day that like, I feel like I know something special. I feel like that's what it should be like when anyone listens to your music. Not that
Yeah.
they think to themselves, I'm the only person in the world you told the secret to. It's that when they listen to their music, they feel a piece of you in it. So they say like anyone who listens to this would feel a piece of Joseph in this,
Yeah.
right? And
Yeah, no,
that
you're
makes
right.
you feel special and connected to it. And
And
it
it
can be,
also weeds out the fakes.
yeah,
It has helped me realize the people who outwardly speak out against it, who seem to hate it, really usually are the people I'm speaking to against, if that makes sense. And the people it's helping are the right people. It's going to the right places, which
yeah,
is what matters.
yeah.
And I appreciate that you see that. The fact that you've taken the time out of your day to even listen to it and see that, I do appreciate it, man. It makes me feel honored because it feels like I'm doing something right.
And that follow that feeling, right?
Yeah.
Because there's always going to be people who disagree with you. There's always going to be people who are like, listen, I'm offended by XYZ, and or just like I just don't like it. That's fine. There's plenty of shit I don't like.
Oh yeah. I
I
mean,
don't.
I got death threats for a year and emails from this random person who claimed to be a bot or no fake account. They were claiming to use a fake account. So they admitted it all because they were talking shit about a song I made about my mom who died of cancer in 2018. And yeah, I made peace with her before she died. And I wrote a song for her. And it was really hard for me to do it. And I wasn't mature and I threatened to sue him. I shouldn't have done that. Okay. And I worded a response really nicely after that. And then I've received emails for a year, comments on videos saying that I can't take criticism. I can take criticism. I just don't want to be threatened and treated that way to do it. Like there's a way to talk to somebody. So,
Well, the internet is a wild place. Like the mask of anonymity that we all have.
but am I going to let that stop me? No, I'm going
Oh,
to keep going.
of course not.
Yeah.
Um, and it's also about like that medium being able to communicate with one another with no responsibility on the other end, right? I can say anything on a YouTube comment,
Oh, yeah.
anything in the world. When the Mafia 3 trailer came out, the amount of like vitriol, that was the first time I'd ever like internet searched. I'd Googled myself and was like trying, I was excited,
Yeah.
like fucking 25 and thinking to myself, hey, this game is going to be huge and like I'm the face of it. And let me see what people are saying. And many people were excited and saying good things. And then other people were like, fuck this N word, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Just,
No, I witnessed that firsthand. It really pissed me off. I was living with somebody who I didn't realize was incredibly racist at the time. And he sold all my video games when I was at summer camp and shit. He was a terrible friend, called me a wet brain child when my mom never drank when I was in the womb. And when the game was coming out, he saw the trailer and he's like, oh, he's black. Fuck that. And he said the same thing about The Force Awakens with Finn having the lightsaber. I wanted to punch him. I really did. I had to hold every bit of my will because I respected his mother not to punch the kid.
yeah.
And well, now he's a pillhead, fucking the girl I had a crush on, despite me because I did something with my life and he stayed in the same town, did nothing. So, fuck him.
Listen, but your audience. That's not the person that you're working towards, right?
No.
Um,
I wish him the best. I hope he finds his way. It's actually really sad.
yeah, totally. That's all you can do, right? Is like
Yeah.
you got to develop some sense of empathy to be like, that's your experience, man. And like, all I can do is my best to try and set an example and be of support.
Yeah. I tried to be nice to him. I even tried to reach out to him years later. People just don't want it, and that's okay. At least I made the effort.
You're not ready for it, right?
Yeah.
They may never want it, but they also might not be ready for it, and that's
Yeah.
to prepare for.
Maybe someday he'll find his way. I really hope he does.
Okay. But anyway, do you have any last questions for me?
Yeah. So, what made you want to do this podcast again?
I enjoyed talking to you last time, and it was unfortunate that it didn't get ready.
I know. I feel like such an asshole for that.
Nah, shit happens. But to me, like, I think it's important. I didn't have a lot of examples outside of that teacher that I was like, she changed my life and was the one who sort of set me on this path. Outside of that, I've had a couple of other mentors, but I haven't had a lot of people who were like young folks doing what I wanted to do, just like being honest about whatever their experience was. I wasn't exposed to much of that. And I think it's important. Like, we live in an age where Instagram, the ability for you as a person who enjoyed a piece of work that I did to reach out to me and say, hey, I'm a fan. I like what you did. I'd love to speak with you sometime and like share that conversation with other folks if you don't mind. Yeah, why not?
I love it. It's amazing.
Hopefully, again, like, I think it's really important that we have open dialogue. Like, as all people, doesn't matter if you agree with my beliefs or not politically, from whether you like the games that I like, whether you enjoy my work or not. But my whole life's work is to like talk to people. So like, why wouldn't I talk to someone who had the nice? Oh,
I had to. I'm sorry. I'm listening to you.
It's all good.
She does this. She's very demanding.
Mine just ran away. But yeah, I think it's important to just have open dialogue.
100%. I appreciate it too. I feel like we've genuinely become friends and we've never even met in person.
Yeah, man.
And
That's what happens when you engage in dialogue.
Yeah,
like,
100%.
About someone's experience, and you're like, oh, that's a cool person. Like, that's a decent human being.
And you are as well. And I like that that's a mutual understanding.
Yeah, man.
I'd love to do this again sometime, especially when this next video game project comes out and you can talk about it.
Yeah, that would be awesome. I think a lot of people, I think for those of you out there who enjoyed Mafia 3, I think you will enjoy this project as well.
And I think I think we know what it's gonna be, so we're not gonna say anything else. That's it. Lips sealed.
I can neither confirm nor deny.
Neither confirm or deny. Well, it was very nice having you on the podcast again, Alex. I can't wait to do this again. Yeah, and I'll send you the link to it after so you can listen to it. I'm really, really grateful that you were here. And once again, you made my week. You made this feel worth going for, and I'm never going to stop. So expect more. And I'm excited to see more from you as well. You have
drops on Halloween.
Oh, thank you. Yes, I'll send you the album too if you'd like it.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll send you a CD if we make some. We're still doing the CDs.
Don't send me a CD. I have no way to play a CD.
And that's fair.
SAG-AFTRA still sends me DVDs, and I'm like, what the fuck am I supposed to do with this? I don't even have a place to put the fucking thing.
I'll send you a link then, whatever streaming service you listen on. All right, man. Well, this was great. And this has been the Dreaming Insomniacs, the podcast, season 3, episode 3 with Alex Hernandez. Have a great rest of your day, man. I'm looking forward to doing this again soon.
Okay.
Well, sometimes you get closure. Well, and other times it is just over. Sometimes you don't get closure.